Hello, everyone, and welcome to Schwab Coaching. My name is Cameron May. I'm a senior manager here at Schwab, and this is Getting Started with Thinkorswim. And you know, for a lot of our Thinkorswim users, speed is of the essence. So today, I want to talk about 10 ways to do stuff faster on Thinkorswim. I'm really looking forward to this. I've compiled a list. It's not exhaustive, but I think it's going to help a lot of people get faster, be more nimble on Thinkorswim. We're going to be going through that in just a moment. Before I do, let me first of all say hello to everybody who's already chatting out there in YouTube land. Hello there, David and Scott. See ya on Long Snapper, Eva, Rojo, Tony, Robert, Mighty Mouse, everybody else. Thanks for joining us week after week. We always do appreciate your attendance and your contributions in these discussions. If you are here for the very first time, though, and I want to welcome you as well. And if you're watching on the YouTube archive after the fact, if you're just enjoying the recording of the presentation, do enjoy it, but be aware that you're invited to join us in the live discussion. This one is a Wednesday webcast series, and it kicks off promptly at 2 Eastern time. We'd love to have you here in the live stream audience. And I also want to let you know that my very good friend Kevin Horner is hanging out in the chats already with the live stream audience. He's addressing any questions today that I can't get to that are on topic. If I can't get to those, Kevin's there to pick up the slack for me. Thanks for being there, Kevin. And Kevin and I would like to issue an invitation to everybody, whether you're in the live stream audience or you're watching on the archive, follow us on X. That's the best place to connect with your favorite presenters in between the live streams. You can find Kevin on X at Kevin Horner CS. You can find me there at Cameron May CS. But let's get into this. First thing that we'll do before we go to the platform is, of course, pause to consider the risks associated with trading. Risks are real, so bear these important disclosures in mind. The information here is for general informational purposes only and should not be considered an individualized recommendation or endorsement of any particular security, chart pattern, or investment strategy. Options carry a high level of risk and are not suitable for all investors. Schwab does not recommend the use of technical analysis as a sole means of investment research, and investing involves risks, including the loss of principal. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? Well, we have 10 ways that a trader might be faster at using Thinkorswim. We're going to talk about 10 ways to do stuff faster on Thinkorswim desktop. That's going to include 2 or 3 general navigational tips for moving around faster on Thinkorswim. Then we're going to get into faster charting and finally faster trading. Just some tips and techniques that might be useful for the navigation of those functions. So let's go right to Thinkorswim, starting with a general overview. Here's the first thing that I've run into before. Maybe you're away from your PC, or you're traveling with your laptop. You don't have a mouse, and so you're using your scroll pad everywhere and just trying to get around from the monitor tab, the trade tab, the analyze tab, the scan tab, back and forth. Let me save you some of that two-fingered scrolling around nonsense on your touchpad. Instead, what a trader can do is just remember the control key on your keyboard. Whether you're using a Mac or a PC, what this is going to do is activate some hotkeys up there at the top of your screen. Have you ever noticed that? If you bump your control key, you get these numbers that show up across the top: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. An H for home, and then it's letting us know this is a hotkey setup. So what this does, it's just a quick, as I'm holding down that control key, it's telling me, hey, Cameron, if you now click the number 1 on your keyboard, it's going to go to the monitor tab. If you click the number 2, it's going to go to the trade tab. If you click the number 3, the analyze tab, and so on. So let me just hold down my control key. We're already on the monitor page. Let's go to the trade tab. I'm going to click 2. There we are. Let's skip over to Market Watch tab quickly. There, 5. We're on Market Watch. Let's go to charting. 6. See how that works? Just hold down the control key, and that brings up some predetermined hotkeys. Now, there are some other functions that we can use, even without hitting the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, 5, and the 6. Maybe we just want to go back and forth. Play the piano keys. So if I want to move forward, let's say right now we're on the active tab, the charts tab, I can hold down that control key again and then just hit tab. That takes us to the next tab to the right. Hit tab again, that takes us to the education page, help, and so on. All right, so let's go back, control key 1, back to the monitor tab, control tab to the trade, analyze, scan. Now let's go backward. Let's move the other direction. I guess if we're going from your right to your left, it's going to be from my left to my right. Anyway, we're going to go that way. This is going to be Control-Shift-Tab. See that? Very quick. Nice, quick, slick way to move back and forth very quickly on Thinkorswim, and a lot of people just haven't discovered that function yet. So that does introduce the concept of hotkeys, and these are some of the default hotkeys, but for other traders, they prefer to set up their own custom hotkeys. They have other functions that they want to speed up on a regular basis. How might that be done? Well, you can set up custom hotkeys just right up here under the application settings. I'm going to go up to the gear icon up in the upper right, go to application settings, and we can set up hotkeys here. You'll notice here are the defaults, but you may not know how to set up custom hotkeys or the keys. To do that, here's a quick tip for you. Go to the Education Center under the, and go to the Learning Center here, under the Education Center tab. Just type in hotkeys and do a quick search. There we go. Just taking just a moment to load. And what this is going to do is retrieve a tutorial for how to set up those custom hotkeys. There we are. Keyboard shortcuts is another name for setting up custom hotkeys, and this will just walk you through that process. So there we go. That's our first way to do stuff faster on Thinkorswim. Second way, I think a lot of our regular users of Thinkorswim have discovered this, but it's a bit of a revelation if you haven't seen this before. Let's say you're over here at a watch list and you have maybe the S&P 500 component companies, NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft. Those are the biggest companies in the S&P. And maybe the trader wants to load those up on their charts. So they come in here to the charts and they type in NVDA, and they have to look at what's going on with NVIDIA. And then maybe they want to move on to the next one. They type in Apple. Well, just the process of typing things in and hitting enter, typing things in and hitting enter. To navigate down through the first 10 symbols here, I don't know, that's about 40 or 50 keystrokes. So how might we speed that up? Well, there's a linking functionality within Thinkorswim, and you can find that just to the right of symbols. Now, anytime you see this link, it means this function can be linked to some other function in Thinkorswim. So I'm going to click on this little link and choose a number here. 1 through 9, doesn't matter which, as long as wherever we're linking to the same color. So this allows us to link different things to different, different functions differently. If we want to have, let's say, this watch list linked to our charts, but our trade tab linked to our analyze tab, we can choose different colors for different things. But really, probably most of the time, we might just use the same color here. But now notice what happens as I click on the next symbol in the watch list menu over here. I'm going to click on Microsoft. I didn't touch what was going on over here in the charts yet. The charts automatically populated. And then if I wanted to take this, let's say our trader is moving down through the S&P 500 list. They want to chart things, and they see something that's intriguing on a chart. Now they want to go trade it, so they want to go to the trade tab. We go to the trade tab. How many of you have done this before? You get excited about something on the chart, you go to the trade tab, you start to build an order, and you realize, wait a minute, wrong symbol. Well, what I need to do here is link it again. Look what that just did. It linked to Microsoft. So we've really, just with one click, let's click on maybe Meta now. We're now seeing the chart of Meta, and we can go to the trade tab, and Meta is queued up for trading. So another quick way to do stuff faster on Thinkorswim. All right, now, here's another thing that traders commonly encounter as they're using the platform. I actually have a multi-screen setup here on my desk. You can't see it, but I have my computer, and then I have a side monitor over here. I have a side monitor over there. But right now, the Thinkorswim platform is really restricted just to my computer. Well, let's say our trader is examining things on charts here, but they'd also like to have their trade tab opened in a separate window. How do we pop out a portion of Thinkorswim and move it over so that we can display it? Or maybe they want to move their charts over, actually have maybe multiple charts. Well, for this functionality, we're going to look for the keyword detach. Sometimes it's found in a menu. So we click on this, you'll see the word detach. But other times you're going to see an icon that looks like this one right here, where we have kind of two stacked pages, two stacked windows. So if I select detach here, what this is going to do is it's going to open up, it's going to detach a fully functional chart screen, and I can now move this over to my side window. It just disappeared from your view because now I have an extra chart over there. And so if I now go to my trade tab, I haven't lost my chart. I can still see my chart right over there. So this can be done really just, again, look for a pair of squares like this, or you can look for the word detach in a menu. Let's see if I can find an example of the detach right there. There we go. Click on the menu. There's our little squares. I can detach all of the trade tab and move that over to a screen. So now I have all kinds, and this is really quite helpful for those that like to move quickly from one screen to the next without losing sight of the last one. That's the third way to do stuff faster on Thinkorswim. Now I just actually closed out those extras. When we detach something, it creates a separate window, but also we can just close that out just by clicking the close button up in the upper right. So close that out. But speaking of detaching charts, let's move into navigating charts more readily. So we've talked about a few ways to navigate Thinkorswim generally more quickly. What about charting? Let's go to charts. And the first thing that a trader might do, yes, they may have separated windows. So maybe we've detached a chart and we moved one over to the side, maybe detached a second, moved that over to another side. Well, sometimes a trader just likes to have access to multiple charts on a single window pane. So how do we do that? Well, we can do that right up here using this little grid icon. You'll notice the word grid appears as I click on this icon in the upper right. And this allows me to choose within a single window any number up to, let me just do a quick tally. What do we have? 8 across, 4 down. So we have 32 potential charts that can be added on a single pane of that could, I think you can imagine, would be pretty small charts. Let's just do 4 as an example. So here are 4 charts, independently usable. So we can just type in symbols up here. And what we can also do is let's actually change, let's maximize one of these, because it's nice when we have different things loaded up in these individual windows, but we can just look at one while retaining access to the others. So I'm going to come up here and click on the little menu icon, and let's choose maximize cell. Each one of these 4 boxes is known individually as a cell. So I'm going to choose maximize cell, and then I can go back to my other windows that I've just set up by clicking the little button here. Now, this is a bit of a spoiler alert. These other ones aren't actually showing charts of, for example, General Electric. Instead, they're showing news on General Electric. There's a whole bunch of buttons over here that might be selected for the chart. I'm gonna click on the C for chart and get rid of the news. There we go. Now we're looking at chart of Meta, chart of GE. I could change the studies. I could change the time frame. I think you can see how this can be a very quick way to navigate among multiple charts for someone that wants speed. Maybe they set up a whole grid of charts, and they like that to be quickly retrievable. That's how you can navigate among the grids. You can actually save a grid if you like the way that you've set it up. Maybe you're keeping an eye on different indices, the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Russell, the Dow. And so you've set up a grid like this and put in those symbols, and we want to save those. Well, you can actually save that grid. Give it a name. For example, maybe indices. Obviously, I don't have a chart of indices displayed right now, but that's just an example conceptually of what might be done there. So how do we get back to the chart of 4 instead of just one cell? We can click the little back button right here. There's our 4. Now, how do we just get back to 1? Get rid of the extraneous 3. Click up here, change it back to 1. Okay. Them Brothers Groovy says, I'd like to see more about setup application settings. Say I'm going to do a little bit of that today, but I already have my top 10 things picked. Maybe we'll put that in the idea queue for later. Okay. You really want to see me get into it? Not today. It's a good suggestion, but in the interest of time and in the interest of maintaining the forward momentum of the topic selected for the presentation. That's where we're headed, but thank you for the suggestion for a future webcast. Okay, so lots of different ways to navigate very quickly among the different functions of the platform. We've detached charts, we've set up multiple charts and navigated among different cells. Now let's just talk about some of the charting functions themselves. Some traders really get pretty detailed with indicators. They like to add lots of what we call technical studies to the chart. Let me hide this left column for a moment. We don't really need that for this part of the presentation. So I'm going to go up here to Edit Studies, and let's start loading on some studies. How about we throw on a simple moving average? Let's add that. Let's add maybe the MACD. Let's throw on maybe an RSI. Let's add possibly some Bollinger Bands. There we go. Maybe CCI, and on the list goes. These are just examples. But some traders really like to set the charts up with lots of tools. And maybe they like to see those tools for every chart. Or maybe they're looking at Meta through one technical lens, and then they go over and they want to look at Netflix through a different technical lens, or maybe just a less busy technical lens. Well, we can actually remove some of these tools from view very quickly and then add them right back to the chart without losing access to them. Let's say this is the trader's preferred setup. A simple moving average, Bollinger Bands, MACD, RSI, CCI. But they don't necessarily need every single one for every single chart. Well, what they might choose to do is go back up here to the Edit Studies icon, and each one of these studies, now, this is a relatively recently introduced feature on Thinkorswim, just added in our last release, but we can now hide individual studies. So for example, let's say we want to take off MACD and CCI, let's apply that, and now we got a bit of a cleaner chart. And our trader moves on to their next stock, and they want to retrieve that MACD and CCI the way maybe they've set it up custom. They just wanted to hide it temporarily. Let's click Apply again and click OK, rather than having to reload those studies. You just hide them, add them back. Bobo 501 says, can I have the links to register for incoming classes? So one way that you can do that is just make sure that you are subscribed. There aren't links to be provided necessarily for all upcoming webcasts. But one thing to make sure that you've done is subscribe to our Trader Talks channel for our Schwab Coaching webcasts. And that's where you can join the live sessions. They'll be found right here. You can also find our previously delivered webcasts right here under playlists. Or you can also go to schwab.com/coaching. What is it? Let me remind myself. I have a shortcut, of course. Let's see. Let me throw in webcasts here. That'll take me to the live events. There we go. Schwab.com/coaching/webcasts will bring you to a calendar of our upcoming webcasts, and you can find those right there. Okay. All right. Let's pop back here. It'll take us back to our Trader Talks homepage. But let's just back to our Thinkorswim overview. Okay, so sometimes the trader likes to just hide their studies, but other times they go in there and they change the study set completely. So let me just do this. Let's come up here, edit our studies. I'm going to take actually, let's actually add a little bit more to it rather than taking it off. I was going to simplify things. Let's complicate it further. I'm going to go to my chart settings, and maybe our trader prefers, let's say, a line chart. Or let's say, well, let me do this. I'm going to change the time frame. Let's go from a 1-year chart to a 6-month chart. Click OK. Let's say in our chart settings, maybe the trader prefers to have corporate actions, in other words, like dividend payments, stock splits, earnings announcements. Let's apply that to our chart. So we have these little icons here, but the trader has their preferred setup for some sorts of stocks. And so for this one, we've set up a 6-month chart with this set of technical studies, with events shown, and then they have a different preference for other kinds of trades. Maybe they trade options and they have a different set of technical tools that they use for that. Well, if we want to save this setup on charts so that we don't have to go in and load it, imagine having to go back in every time, load up CCI, RSI, MACD, moving average, Bollinger Bands, make the change to the time frame, make the change to display those events. Well, instead, what the trader might do is say, you know what, I like this style of chart sometimes. So I'm going to save it for quick retrieval. I'm going to go up to Style and save this style. So for today, I'm just going to call it a fancy chart. What one might do to make this a little bit more usable is give it a name like RSI, CCI, MACD, and moving averages, or something like that, that triggers the memory a little bit faster. I'm going to give it a simple name like this, though. So I'm going to click Save now. And now let's take away all of these indicators. Let's apply that. Let's say that we have switched our style of chart from a candle chart to a line chart. And maybe we've switched our time frame to a 3-year weekly, and we're no longer displaying our corporate actions. Let's click Apply, click OK. Oh, you know what? I'm about to show one little error that that cost me something here. Let me show you something. I'm going to come up here. Let's click on Style, and I'm going to load that style that I intended to be fancy. It's not going to be quite as fancy as I intended. I'm going to choose Fancy Chart, but look at this. It just actually switched us back from a line chart to a candle chart. It loaded the events, but the studies are not being displayed. We need to remember when we go to save that style, let me click on Save Style, check this box for Include Our Study Set. All right. A little bit of repetition never hurts. Let's come back up here. Let's add a few of those studies back in. Simple moving average. Let's add a MACD. And let's add a CCI. Let's apply that. Okay. Now, to get a little repetition with this process, let's save this style. We're going to call it the fancier chart and include the studies this time. Save that. If I go to Style and I load my fancy chart, let's go to let's say Amazon. There we go. There we go. If I go to Style and I load my fancier chart, there we are. Let's see, Ilinchayan, sorry for the pronunciation of that name. Is there a way to toggle between simulated trading versus real account without logging out? Yes. Yeah, it's a good question. Why not? Here's bonus number 11. Right click and open Thinkorswim there. That'll ask you to log in again. Just use your real login if you're in Paper Money, for example. What I do is to keep a very clear distinction between the two. If I'm logged into Paper Money and Real Money at the same time, I'll use the white background for Paper Money, the dark background for live trading, and that way I know for certain, no matter what, which platform I'm on. Yes, do we have a recording for these classes? Absolutely. It's on the Trader Talks channel that I pointed out a little bit earlier. Just click on playlists. You can find it right there. Okay, so we can hide studies. We can save study styles for quick retrieval of different, what we call study sets. And that is going to allow our trader to really navigate not just the platform more quickly, but also the charts. So we've done platform, we've done charts. Now let's get a little bit faster at just plain old trading. So let me just clean up my charts here. Click there, let's click there, let's click there, let's click Apply, click OK. Maybe we'll go up to an uncluttered chart, Apple, so the focus is just on trading. Now, one thing that a trader might notice when we go to the trade tab and we go to place a buy order for a stock, the default quantity is going to be 100 shares. If we go to place an order entry, and that would be true for a buy order or a sell order. If we're doing an entry order for an option trade, the default quantity is going to be 10 contracts. Those quantities are not going to be the preferences for every trader. And so they might feel like, oh, I have to come in here. Maybe I'm always changing this to 10 shares. Or maybe I'm always changing my quantity on my contracts for options to one option contract. Well, actually, what the trader can do is go up to our application settings, click on application settings, and set up some order defaults here. We can do that for stocks. Let's say instead of buying 10 shares or 100 shares by default, let's set that to 100. And instead of increasing by an increment of 100, let's set our increment to 10. For options, we could change this. You'll notice the default is going to be for 10 contracts. We could set that maybe to just one contract. And we could change the quantity increment if we wanted to. Let me leave that at 1. So I'm going to apply those settings. Now, if I come back here to Apple and I go to place a trade, I click on the ask price, it's now going to default from this trade forward to 10 shares. So it's a little thing, but for those that are placing trades and they want speed, if we know our typical order quantity, changing those defaults can be a little bit of a time saver at crucial moments. Let's see, we have, let's just stay on that same path of speeding up trading on thinkorswim. Well, let me go to the charts. Sometimes our traders looking at charts, and rather than having the idea to place a trade, let's say that they're looking at Apple and Apple's been bouncing along. It looks like we've had a pretty good support right around that 220 level. And our trader's looking to maybe place a buy order for Apple. Instead of having to go back here to the trade tab and enter that order, wouldn't it be nice if we just had that function right here on the charts? Well, that is accessible right up here in this right column that we've become acquainted with when we had our news displayed. We can also choose a function called trade. We click on that trade button, it's going to add a panel of functions right up here at the top. So I'm going to use some of these just quickly to illustrate how these work. So if we have our trade concept for a position down here on our chart, notice we haven't lost access to our chart. We still have all of our chart functionality right up here. We just have additional functions up at the top. I can click on buy market and it brings up a buy order, including an indication of reminders like with market orders, prices can change quickly in fast market conditions. We also need to bear in mind that for some trades there can be a commission, but this can be a bit of a time saver for those that are looking to be quick connecting their idea to their idea execution. We can buy at a market, we can sell at a market, we can change the quantity right here. Notice that because I set my defaults in the application settings to 10 shares, it's now defaulted to 10 shares. Now there are some other functions that I want to discuss right up here. So I'm going to go ahead and buy some shares of the market. And actually, let me show you this. I'm going to check the button for auto send. Anybody want to guess what it means if we've checked the button for auto send? This is for those that really want speed. It means don't give me the confirmation dialog box. I'm pretty confident in the trade that I'm about to place. Just send it. So if I click buy market for Apple right here, it's just going to buy 10 shares of Apple. Notice now there's an order there, 10 shares to buy Apple at the market. And there we go, bought those shares. Okay. Now that we own 10 shares of Apple here, it has activated two other buttons. There's reverse and there's flatten. So what are these functions? How many of you are familiar with reverse and flatten? I would suspect it's going to be new to a lot of you. Reverse means, hey, you know what? I have a totally different opinion. Let's say we bought the 10 shares because we thought Apple was going to go up. and then Apple breaks support. Now it's heading down, and the trader thinks, nope, I've completely reversed course on my bullish outlook for Apple. I'd rather be bearish right now. Well, if I click the reverse button, I'm going to get a confirmation right down here. That just put it in order to sell 20 shares. Wait a minute, I only have 10. Yeah, and actually it auto sent that order because I still have the auto send activated. If we have 10 shares, but we sell 20, what that does is it gets me out of the bullish position and puts me in 10 short shares. Now, I'm not going to go deeply into selling shares short, but just be aware that that's a trade that a stock trader might take when they think the stock price is going to go down. Sometimes it doesn't go down, it goes up. And if it goes up and keep going up, and there's unlimited loss potential when selling shares short. But in any case, a reverse position literally means get me out of what I was in and get me into just exactly the opposite. You know what? I'm going to do that again. Let me click on reverse again. Let's get back into some long shares of stock. This is getting me back out of short into the long position. So there's a working order to buy 20 shares. Buy back the 10 short position, back into 10 long shares. So now we own 10 shares of stock again. So, all right, so what would flatten mean? Let me take off the auto send. What would flatten mean? Flatten means get me out of the position. So if I go to my trade tab and I look at our Apple position, there we have 10. This would get me out of the position, and it would also cancel any open orders. So for a trader who knows that, or also I just want to say it this way, how many times have we gone to sell a stock because we see a reason to sell and might even forget that we have a stop on it? Yeah. The flatten function gets rid of any open orders and gets rid of the position. Now, there are risks of doing that, obviously, and there can be commissions generated depending on the type of trade, but there we go. So this tool can really be an important one for those that are wanting speed in their usage of thinkorswim. That's known again as the trade function. Let me get rid of that. That's nice. Then Brothers Group says, so what about the flatten? Also cancel. Yeah, cancel means cancel the order. Then Brothers Group. So I hope hopefully that flatten explanation made sense to you. Now, what about for our options traders? The stock traders, we just use the stock tool that was handy for being fast. Well, what about those that are trading options and maybe they want to connect the logic of their options trade to what they're seeing on the chart without having to go over to the trade tab again? Well, for that, we're going to use the OC function over here on the right. It's known as the option chain. Now, for those of you who trade options, you'll notice this looks just like the option chain on our trade tab, and it's connected to our charted symbol. So down below, I can see the available options for Apple, and I can trade them just like I might using the trade tab. Now, I'm not going to go deeply into that. If you understand options, you know how to place a call order to buy or a put order to buy. Multi-leg strategies can be placed here. You'll notice those functions are found right here. I just wanted to point out that for those looking for speed, those looking to do stuff faster on thinkorswim, this is one more way to do stuff faster. Okay. Then Brothers Goofy says, now it'd be nice if you talk about the template on the active trader. Guess where I was headed? Yeah. Let's do that. Let me just make sure. I'm looking at my little cheat sheet that I wrote up before we launched this webcast. We've talked about hotkeys. We talked about linking. We talked about detaching. That's 3. Number 4 was setting up multiple charts. Number 5 was hiding studies. Number 6 was saving study styles. Number 7, setting up your order defaults in the application settings. Number 8, using the trade tab on the thinkorswim charts. Number 9 was using the option chain, being where the option chain is available on thinkorswim charts. So let me take that off, and that does leave us, them Brothers Goofy, with the active trader. Yeah. So notice over here on the right side again, the letters AT for active trader. Now I'm gonna give kind of a high level overview of this tool. We've already gotten some introduction to this. Just using, you'll notice there are some similarities in the functions right here to what we were already seeing on that trade tool. But I want to make you aware, I've done a webcast previously that's entirely dedicated to how to use this active trader, including setting up a template. Dragon Rider says, oh, this is so much information. Fortunately, this webcast is being recorded. Not every function is going to be even appealing to every trader, so only focus on what seems to be useful to you. But you can go back and watch the archive if you'd like to get a second look at what we've discussed. You can watch me demonstrate something, pause it, digest it, maybe go practice it, and then move on to the next function. All right, but how many of you use Active Trader? Active Trader, powerful tool, really designed for speed of execution, for getting orders entered very, very quickly. So you'll notice right away we have buy market, sell market. We have reverse and flatten. We've already discussed those. We can customize quantities here, and just with a click, change those quantities. We can auto send orders, just like we did before. Them Brothers Goofy, you use this. Or we can set up order templates. Definitely one thing that I wanted to discuss before we wrap things up. When using this Active Trader tool, some traders like to set up a trade. Hey, I like to buy the stock. Let's say the trader's idea here was to buy Apple as it's bouncing off support. And if it goes up, I don't know, $10, the plan is to sell. Or if it drops down, let's say $5, the plan is to sell. $10 to take profits, $5 to try to get out and minimize losses. But we can set up a template to do that. Now we could just choose a default template. I'm going to choose trigger with bracket here. What this means is that if we click on buy and it fills, that order triggers two other orders to go into place. So a bracket is our two other orders. Let's say that we have an order to buy 100 shares at the market, and then to sell those shares if the stock price goes up 10, or if it falls 5. And maybe this is just the way the trader prefers to do things. Maybe they buy stocks a lot where they sell if it rises $5 or rises 10, or if it drops 5. So we can actually save this as a future template. Let's save this as a custom template. Okay. We're going to call this an OCO. One order cancels the other order. Let's say up $10. That's just what I'm calling it. Or down $5. Let's just save that. So from now on, if I'm on a different stock, let's say I'm over here on Apple, and I switch over to Amazon, and I click on buy market, that's actually going to bring up an order to buy 100 shares of Amazon to, did I not save that? Oh, I think I clicked on the wrong one. Let's change, oh, that's what I did. Let's change our template to our plus 10 minus 5. Got a little bit ahead of myself. Click on buy market. This is in order to buy 100 shares of Amazon, and then to sell those if they happen to pop up $10, or sell those at a stop if they drop down $5. Now, as with other types of orders, we have to remember there can be commissions associated with these. With market orders, prices can change quickly in fast market conditions, resulting in execution prices that can be different from the quotes displayed at order entry. And with stop orders, there's no guarantee that the execution price, the price that's received, will be equal to or even near the activation price. In this case, that activation price would be if it fell $5. Okay, Dragon Rider 108, thank you. Well, I appreciate that. You said I'm the best coach. You know, I know a lot of really good coaches with us. I might have a different opinion on that, but I'll appreciate your compliment. I'll take it. Anyway, Emmanuel says, what webcast talks about dividends? Emmanuel, for all of our webcasts, what you can do again is go to schwab.com/coaching/ webcasts, and you can look at how the week is laid out. All right, now that's just going to be, again, an introduction to really this active trader tool, but there are so many other ways this tool might be used. For example, I can come down here where we see bid size and look to put in a buy order just by clicking on one of these prices. So if you're looking down at the chain down below, you'll see it's highlighting the current price, and then prices above and below that by default by 1 penny increments. And if I wanted to put in a buy stop, I would click at a higher price. If I wanted to put in a buy limit, I click at a lower price. If I want to put in a sell limit, I can click at a higher price. If I want to put in a sell stop, I can click at a lower price. Now that is a really shallow introduction to the power of the rest of this tool. So what I'm going to recommend is that you check out my webcast that's titled Placing Trade Orders Faster with Thinkorswim's Active Trader. And I'm going to copy a link that I have here to that. Let me post that in the chats. There we go. That's going to give you, that's about 25-minute video that I did just on this tool to explain all of the nifty features of it, because it can be a key to doing stuff faster on Thinkorswim. But guys, with that, we've accomplished everything that I set out to do today. I knew it was a bit of a tall task for a 45-minute discussion to go through 10 different ways to do stuff faster on Thinkorswim, but we did it. This is kind of what we do on Wednesdays. We talk about getting started with Thinkorswim and really understanding how it works. So I hope you enjoyed that presentation. We'll do more on Thinkorswim Desktop next week. I'm going to let you go to enjoy the rest of our webcast. But as you do, just remember, you do have other resources outside of these webcasts. First of all, you can subscribe to our Trader Talks channel. So if you haven't done this yet, go down. I know that some of you are new here. Click on that subscribe button. Doesn't cost anything to subscribe on YouTube, but it subscribes you to the channel. And the channel is where we host our playlists of previous webcasts. It's also where you can access our current live webcasts like this one right now, or you can even do searches. Let's say you wanted to learn about Active Trader. Let me type in Active Trader here, hit enter, and hey, what do you know? Placing trade orders faster with Thinkorswim's Active Trader. So make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Also make sure that you're following Kevin and me on X. You can find Kevin there at Kevin Horner CS. You can find me on X at Cameron May CS. It's the best place to connect with your favorite presenters. And it's really the only place to connect with us in between the live streams. Hey, everybody, thanks for all the likes. I can see a lot of likes, thumbs up. Already 53 people have clicked that like button. So if you've enjoyed something you've learned today, click the like button. It's like a pat on the back to your presenter, but it also boosts their webcast in the YouTube algorithm, helps them find a wider audience and help more people. It doesn't cost anything, literally only takes a second. So yeah, make that a habit if you would. And that's going to do it. So Kevin, thanks for helping out in chats, everybody. Follow us on X. Look for us in the webcast. I'll be looking for you in a future webcast. I'll also look for you on X, but whenever I see you again, until that moment arrives, I want to wish you the very best of luck. Happy trading. Bye-bye.